Guys, welcome back. So today's video is a little bit different in the spirit of trying to stick to my bookish resolutions of trying cozy mysteries kind of outside of my comfort zone. I thought that I would actually try a chapter of 3 different cozy mysteries all within the same theme. Now, depending on how this one goes, I may actually do this for a few more books, a few other books down the line, all within the same theme. Now, I was actually inspired by Books and Lala, who posted a video similar to this, and I'm sure there have been other booktubers who have done something similar, where essentially you try the first chapter of a handful of books to see what sticks, to see if it's gelling, if it's vibing, if you want to continue with it. And so I thought that I would take that concept and of course related to cozy mysteries. So in the spirit of kind of delving into themes that I'm less familiar with cozies, I actually wanted this first one to begin with Cate cozy mysteries. To be honest, I typically don't flock toward cozy mysteries that revolve around cats. Now, yes, there have been cozies that I've read where our amateur sleuth has a cat, but I've never actually picked up one that is specific to cats, whether it's cats in the name or cats play an integral part to the story. It's just usually not something that I go to. So I wanted to start this video off with trying that subgenre, trying that theme specifically. So I've got some requirements here, and let me just go ahead and say I know nothing about these books. I specifically wanted to keep it that way. I actually just chose 3 cat cozies based on the title and the cover, something that seemed like it would be the most cat-centric because I wanted to go in blind and have my initial thoughts. Now, there are a couple of things that I am going to essentially touch on after reading the first chapter of each of these books. I've got my little list here so that I can tell you essentially how it's going to go down. So first, I'm going to read you all the first sentence. Let's see if that is enough to hook the reader from the jump. Next, I'm going to give you kind of a general gist of things. What goes down in the first chapter? Is there a murder that happens that earlier on? Are there cats? I don't know. Let's find out together. Next, I am going to say whether anything stands out. I'm keeping that open-ended and vague just to kind of see come what may. And then lastly, I am going to say whether I'm interested and whether I would actually continue reading it, whether I would recommend that you guys pick it up. Again, just based on these first chapters alone. So yeah, let's get into it. I guess, actually, let me back up. Let's talk about the books actually that I am going to be reading for this particular challenge, so to speak. The first book that we have is called Lending a Paw, and that is the first book in the Bookmobile Cat Mystery series. Then we have Murder Past Due. That's also, I think these are all the first book in the series, to be honest, because I wanted to get like from the jump initial beginnings of the series feel. So yes, this one is also the first in the series, and it's the Cat in the Stacks mysteries. And then lastly, we have Cat About Town. This one is by Conte, and it's a cat cafe mystery series. So that said, I'm going to start, let's see, I'm going to start with Lending a Paw, do a little bit of reading of the first chapter, and then I'll come back and give you guys my thoughts. Alright, so I just wrapped up the first chapter in Lending a Paw, which again is the first book in the Catmobile mystery series. Now, like I was saying, got a little checklist. Let's start off with reading the first sentence. So it says, "When I was a little girl, I dreamed of growing up to be the president." Alright, not really much to go off of. Now, it does kind of transition and like the first paragraph makes sense, but that's not the point of this exercise. So the first sentence itself, meh, it's okay. I mean, sure. Now, let's talk about the general gist of things. Our amateur sleuth's name is Minnie, and from the jump, we have an introduction to her cat, whose name is Eddie. And when I say her cat, it's actually not her cat. She is hanging out at her aunt's house, which must be located in this really fab place in town. I think it might be on the water or something, but her aunt essentially rents the rooms out to vacationers, but since they're in the off season, she's letting Minnie stay with her, and Minnie is simultaneously fixing up a houseboat that she plans to rent when she moves out of her aunt's place. So as she is, I think, going on a walk somewhere, she stumbles across this cat who essentially won't leave her alone. Now, simultaneously, and this is kind of where the bookmobile part comes into play, Minnie is a librarian. She is starting a new job, and one of the responsibilities of that job is for her to be the librarian in charge of driving the bookmobile around town. All right. That's the general gist. Now, in terms of what stands out, I would say, yeah, a couple of things stand out. So first of all, we've got the whole cat thing. I think it's cute that the cat doesn't leave her alone. I was actually quite surprised. Yes, this is a cat themed cozy, but I was really surprised at just how much the cat was involved from the very beginning. We are getting an introduction to the cat. We are getting obviously these cute descriptions of what the cat looks like, and also a peek at the cat's personality. Now, in terms of the cat's personality, I think it's funny that the cat's name is Eddie, and the reason that she named him Eddie is literally just because he looks like an Eddie. And I feel like if you have pets, whether it's a cat or a dog or something else, you look at them and you can just feel what their name should be. And this cat's an Eddie, basically. Does what he wants, doesn't play by anyone's rules, super confident. The cat's name is Eddie. So yeah, very cat heavy description so far. So my last kind of bullet point checklist is whether or not I would continue reading, and the answer is yes. I was piqued from this first chapter. I won't tell you guys too much about what happens in the first chapter, but just know that yes, I was hooked. We already get the setup of the cat. We know who Minnie is and what she does, what's her driving motivation. Literally, because she's driving a bookmobile and she's really excited and interested in that. But we also get a little peek at kind of a flaw or a chink in her personality, which is that she's a little hesitant to drive. So that'll be really interesting and perhaps comical to see how she sorts that with driving a bookmobile and being responsible for this large vehicle. But yeah, overall, I would say this first one is a win, and let me know in the comments below, kind of based on what I have just explained, whether or not you would be interested to pick this one up if you haven't read it already. And if you have read it, then let me know what you thought about it, and if you actually would recommend that I keep reading it, or if you would recommend that others pick it up as well. So, all right, that's the first book down. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's see, what's the second book? Let's go ahead and move on to Murder Past Due, which again is the first book in the Cat in the Sacks library mystery series. Okay, so done with that one, and got some thoughts. So let's start off, with the first chapter. Hold on, let me go back to the first chapter. Okay, so here we go, first line. A hurricane slammed through my kitchen this morning, and his name was Justin. Okay, that one's a little bit better than the first book. So yeah, I'm intrigued by this. My interest is piqued. I want to continue reading. Now, as far as the general gist of it, I've got some notes here. So first up, our amateur sleuth's name is Charlie, and he is an older widowed man. And I thought that was really interesting because if you're familiar with cozies, there's not a lot of male sleuths that you see in a lot of series. Yes, they exist, but more often than not, they're either younger women or older women. And so that already was surprising. Now, I had heard of this series, but I still didn't know enough about it, which is what prompted me to pick it up. I just knew that it was well loved and has been around for a while. Maybe part of me knew that the amateur sleuth was a man, but it still was a little bit surprising to me. But anyway, so the general gist here is that Charlie and his cat, whose name is Diesel. Diesel is a large Maine Coon cat, if you're not familiar with the type. They are living in a small town in Mississippi, and Charlie works at a college library. And so what we get is essentially an introduction to Charlie. It starts off with him in his home, and he is currently letting a young man named Justin stay at his home. He's currently boarding him. I think he's 18 years old and he's attending the college. He's not his son. He's just essentially, I guess, a friend's son. Again, letting him stay with him while he's in school. And the morning starts off really chaotic. Justin is a little bit messy, which is outside of his character. Him and Charlie have some words. Charlie's wondering if everything is okay with Justin, and then him and Diesel, his cat, pack up and go off to work. So, does anything stand out? Yes, and I kind of mentioned already. One, the fact that Charlie is a man. Again, I didn't realize this. It's not an issue, it's just definitely something interesting, and I would be interested to see how a older man handles investigating as an amateur sleuth. I did learn a couple of fun facts. So as far as kind of the cat aspect, again, we're introduced to Diesel the Maine Coon from the jump. Our boy Charlie walks him on a leash, which I've seen cats walked in the wild on a leash, and it does make you kind of do a double take. Another fun fact that I learned is that Maine Coons don't really purr, but more so chirp. Of course, I'm thinking like Tweety Bird chirp, which isn't probably accurate, but still, that's another fun fact that I learned. Now, would I continue reading? I gotta be honest, guys, I don't know. And that's not to say that it's because of the amateur sleuth, but this first chapter, I'm not super compelled. Now, I could be easily swayed if somebody who really loves the series hyped it up for me, kind of gave me a little bit of a teaser as to what's to come and like just how interesting it is and etc., etc. But from this first chapter alone, I'm like, meh. If I have to compare it to the Bookmobile series that I just did a sampling of, that one piqued my interest more so there you have it. Let me know. What do you think? Should I read it? If you've read the series already, I'm interested in your thoughts. So let's go ahead and get to our final third book, which is called Cat About Town. And again, this is a Cat Cafe mystery series, book 1 by Cate Conte. So here we go. Okay, so either this one went really quickly because it was interesting, or it was a short first chapter, but it seemed like it went by really fast. So I'm torn what first sentence to read you all, because there's a quote and then there's the actual sentence. So I'm gonna actually just read the sentence, because I know sometimes people gloss over quotes. So as a reminder, this is Cat About Town. So the first sentence goes, "The cat's eyes had been on me during the entire service." I'm into it. If you're into cat cozies, like automatically I feel like you're going to be sucked in, because boom, we're talking about the cat from the jump. And that is actually the theme of the entire first chapter, to be honest. So let's talk about the general gist. So we've got our amateur sleuth. Her name is Madeline, aka Maddie, and it starts off with her and her family at her recently deceased grandmother's funeral. So the rest of the family is in the car, they're ready to go, and Maddie spots a stray cat kind of hanging around the cemetery or the grave site, and she's immediately drawn to it and is trying to coax it out. And so while she's doing that, she overhears her grandfather having a conversation with one of his friends, and she's kind of surprised at the interaction because since her grandpa used to be, I think, on the police force, he's usually take charge, take no crap from anybody, but this man talks to him in a way that Maddie knows people shouldn't be able to get away with, and so that kind of sparks her curiosity, but she's more so worried about the cat. That's kind of what we have from the first chapter. Now, does anything stand out to me? I would say yes. The cat descriptions, again, you're hit with them from the first chapter, which is great if that's something that you're interested in. And it's funny because, just side tangent really quickly, one of the things that I love / hate about cozies is how easily influenced I am, and depending on the theme of the cozy that I am reading, I want or am intrigued by whatever the descriptions are. So for example, it's really dangerous for me to read a foodie cozy because I'm gonna want whatever they're talking about. If it's a donut, if it's ice cream, if it's baked bread, if it's cheese, like the descriptions make me want it. And so with this cat, I feel like I don't want to say it's more descriptive than the other two books that I read, but the Amateur Sleuths, or Maddie's reaction to the cat, was just so visceral that I'm like, okay, do I want a cat now? Because again, she was really drawn to it, and there's a lot of descriptions about the bright green eyes and just how perfectly orange it is. So yeah, that's the thing that kind of stood out to me. So would I continue reading? Yes, I would. I'm intrigued by this cat, and I'm interested to see how Maddie is going to incorporate, well, I guess technically maybe it'll just be a stray cat that we never see beyond the first chapter, but I feel like the cat will make its way onto the page and become a main character, and I'm interested to see how that goes. Now, the title of the series is a Cat Cafe mystery series. The first chapter does not allude to that whatsoever. We know nothing about a cat cafe, so I also want to continue reading to see how that comes into play, because I assume Maddie is going to open a cat cafe. So there you have it. All right, guys, so those were my kind of 3 try a chapter cozies as they all relate to cat themes. Let me know what you think. I will say that 2 out of 3 is not bad. And again, with the Cat in the Stacks books, it wasn't that I didn't like it. I was just less drawn to it and less compelled than the other 2. So, oh, and I guess I should also ask for this 3rd book. Let me know if you guys have read it, if you would be tempted to pick it up as well. So yeah, let me know in general about what you guys think. I really like this exercise because, again, it's a way for me to kind of dabble and try cozies that I may have otherwise not picked up. I enjoyed going into it a little bit blind, you know, only knowing that it's cat themed and then just letting the first chapter take me away, because it really puts the onus on the author to hook you from the first chapter. Because let's be honest, if you have you know, especially if you have a Kindle and you can download all of these samples, it's a great way for you to try on a couple books, see what sticks, see what you want to read and pick up, blah, 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 etc., etc. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little feature that I did. If you did, let me know. Please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments if you want me to try this again, and if so, what kind of theme would you like for me to tackle next? You can even toss in a couple of book recommendations while you're at it. So in the meantime, happy reading, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!